Hi guys, it is Mr. Scotty Pie here. I'm doing another video essay, this time on the second series of Doctor Who. Onto the first start off, just by a bit of a thank you. My last video of the essay of season 1, obviously not for many people, but for me, almost hitting 30 views on the video in like a week is really good for me. That's one of my best weeks I've ever had, kind of thing. I know I said for normal people that's just a bit silly, but for me it did mean a lot. My overall views on my whole YouTube channel now passed over 1,000, which I make videos for me, things that I want to watch, and a bit of a record for myself. Obviously more of these essays is more me just getting things off my chest, but the fact that other people watch them, and the fact I've got 11 subscribers, again, I know for many people it's not a lot. For me it means a lot, really means a lot to me. So if you either are a subscriber, you watched one of my videos before, massive thank you. It means a lot to me, especially if you're coming back. If this is your first video, massive thank you for clicking on this video. It does mean the world to me. If you want to go back and watch maybe my season 1 video essay, I'll drop a link for that. One of these sides. I should really learn which side that would be. I've also, if you're into Doctor Who, I've got a fair few different Doctor Who videos, different style, book reviews of Doctor Who books, Funko Pops, statue reviews, things like that, all different Doctor Who things, autographs. Drop in my videos, have a look, see if anything else you fancy watching that. And I'm going to be doing these essays more and more because I really enjoy doing them. I spend a couple of days typing out what I'm gonna say, and really enjoy doing that, and the recording of them is fantastic, and any feedback I get, any conversation started out of it is brilliant. I love it. I love talking about TV and movies and Doctor Who and things like that. I am going to branch out as well. I'm not just going to do Doctor Who TV shows. I'm thinking about doing some movies that have meant a lot to me and talk about that. Or is there anything you want to see me do a video essay on? A TV show, a movie, a book, an album? I love doing this, so just drop it in the comments if you just enjoy seeing what you're seeing. And if you want to have a chat with me, I'm very engaging in the comments. I love talking to you. Even if it's just a thank you for watching the video, or if you want to start a conversation up, I'm ready to go. Just feel doing that. Subscribe if you are enjoying these videos. As I said, a lot more is going to come. I'm going to try and drop one a week. Next week, I'm going to move away from Doctor Who just for 1 week. I might do Harry Potter, a series of films which are very close to my heart. So I might do that, and then obviously I will be coming back to Doctor Who. I am going to do all 12 seasons eventually, but I think if I dropped all 12 in a row, I think I'm going to start maybe lose a bit of passion for it as much as I have. So I'm thinking if I dip in and out, maybe do one every other week, and maybe do like Harry Potter or other TV shows and films, a Dark Knight trilogy I'd love to do, and things like that. Christopher Nolan films, and I have such a passion for movies and TV shows. I just love talking about it, and this is such a great escapism for me to do that, especially when we're on lockdown. I've got not many people to talk to and about that. This for me is a massive outlet, and it's doing me a world of good talking to someone. And if you are watching, anyway, it's not what you came for, me rambling on about me praising you and what's next for the channel. But yeah, and if you do enjoy the video, drop it a like, because that would mean a lot to me. It means that you are actually enjoying these, and it also helps me branch out more into the YouTube world, because it shows the YouTube algorithm that this is a video that people like to watch, and obviously that means more people are going to see it, because they're going to recommend it to more Doctor Who fans or fans of video essays and things like that. It would mean an absolute world to me, and it will do this channel a world of good. It means if I'm getting a lot of love for this, it means I'm gonna get more excited about doing it. I mean, I'm already loving it, but obviously if there's a bit of a following for it, then how can I turn my back on it? As you can see in my previous videos, I've done many different style of videos, but I think this is going to be the way forward from now on, because I get such a kick out of it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do other videos. I love doing unboxing videos and things like that, and book reviews, but obviously I can only read so many books at a time, and I can do a video like this once a week. As I said, I am writing basically almost a script out once a week for what I want to say. So if I do look down, it is me just looking at my notes. So as I said, we're going to start off on season 2 of Doctor Who. In the previous episode I did talk about the first series. We've met the first Doctor, who's played by Christopher Eccleston, and Rose Tyler, who's played by Billie Piper. We left the series with the regeneration scene where we get the first glimpse of the 10th Doctor, who this time played by David Tennant. So David Tennant is a Scottish actor. He's been in such roles as Casanova and Harry Potter, along with so many different roles in television since and before. Since Doctor Who's been on Broadchurch and Jessica Jones, and he's been on stage doing some fantastic stage productions. But David Tennant brought a whole new take to this role. Where Chris Eccleston brought more of a brooding type, and he's still feeling the effects of the Time War, and his past that he's had to living through. It was so raw to him still. David Tennant brought more of a boyish charm to the role. In the time between the first series and the second series, outside of the actual show itself, I mean, with the show, but outside the story itself, the doubts of whether a new revised Doctor Who, if it will work or not, is now squashed. Because the first season captured the imagination of the public. The old fans and the new proved that it was a venture worth taking. The old fans were happy the show was back, and there was new fans like myself who just couldn't believe what they were viewing. It was amazing to watch. It was a spectacle for Saturday Night TV for someone who wasn't really around. The final classic series finished before I was even born, and the only thing that has really released since my birth was the TV movie. I was about 5 when that came out. So this was new for me, this was exciting. And now I had a new show. Not just to watch, but to love. As I said, I discussed all that in the first series, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But the show became more confident now, because it showed the world is more than ready for Doctor Who. So we're going to start off this series with the Christmas episode. I thought it just made more sense to put this in with the series rather than anything separate for it. So it starts off with the TARDIS crashing to Earth at Rose's estate, where Mickey and Jackie run to the TARDIS because they know that Rose is home for Christmas as well. What perfect timing. Jackie is Rose's mother, Mickey's Rose's boyfriend, as a bit of a catch-up on that. The scene where Rose has to explain who this new man in the TARDIS is, that he's the same Doctor that they've also known to, I won't say love, because obviously there's a bit of friction. For Mickey, this man took his girlfriend away, and for Jackie, took her daughter away. But they respected this man. They knew who this man was, or they thought they did. But now there's this new man, the new face. And I think this whole scene really captures the confusion, the sadness, and the fear it would cause to someone. Because don't forget, Rose has spent the last few months getting to know this man. And not just being attached to them, but seeing them as a father figure. You're starting to figure out that you know them, and you're finding out that you don't know anything about them. Imagine trusting someone with your life, letting them into your heart, and then you find out you know nothing about them. What you know is barely a scratch on the surface. It's not even the tip of the iceberg, it's less. This man's more confusing and more mysterious than you ever thought he could be. And when the 10th Doctor falls out of the TARDIS, you can see in his face that he wants to explain everything to Rose and Jackie and Mickey. But you can see the struggle as well, because he can't. He has to rest. He's just regenerated. He's just done this mad, amazing thing. And his body can't cope. It needs to rest and settle. And that's such an internal struggle for him. It's so brilliantly done. And it shows straight away that David Tennant, as an actor, isn't here to mess around. He isn't playing. He's here. This leads to the Doctor being out of the episode, basically. He was resting in Jackie's bed for pretty much the whole episode, which I guess kind of works, but it gives Rose Tyler the lead for the episode, which is an interesting dynamic. The Sycorax have been drawn to the leaking regeneration energy left out by the Doctor, which he's breathing out because he's still recovering from the regeneration. And that means they've sent pilot fish to the Earth to scope this out. And they're disguised as like Santa machines because it's Christmas. And they need to keep this whole episode on a Christmas Day release theme, because this one's released on Christmas Day. I thought the whole idea of the pilot fish, which are explained by the Doctor later on in this episode, are interesting. And I thought the Santa branding makes a sense of this episode, as this is set in Christmas period. It allows them to obviously blend in to the background and the setting and the whole story. And obviously the Santas just to cover their robotic faces. It just works. Not just for making the episode for the Christmas episode, but the aesthetic of the episode, it just feels right. What I do feel in this episode lets it down is the killer Christmas tree. I thought this is a bit of a too much trying hard of the writer, who's Russell T Davies, on this episode, constantly saying, don't forget this is a Christmas episode, don't forget it's Christmas. It feels cheap, it feels struggled, and it feels forced. I don't like it. That's a big letdown for me in this episode. I feel it takes away from the episode, and how we even could a plastic tree or pine or whatever that Christmas tree was so effortlessly crush through a wall is unbelievable. It's not as unbelievable, but it's not believable at all. I do like in this episode that even when in a coma, the Doctor will always be there to save Rose. She whispers in his ear to save her, and he wakes instantly, without thought. Just the heroic moment. I think this is a special moment for the characters, and in the trust between the characters, because the trust needs to be built for Rose, because this is a new man. She doesn't know it yet, but it's not just a face that's changed, it's everything. And that's what she's scared of, and it's true. She thinks she knows this man, but he's a whole new personality now. So the trust needs to be built again, and I think this is the first huge step in saying, don't worry, I'll always be there to save you. And it's beautiful. The Sycorax have managed to manipulate the human race based on the blood type, type A, and they managed to convince everyone with that, or brainwash everyone with that blood type, to kill themselves. To stand on a rooftop, about to jump, on the edge of mass suicide. And it makes you take notice. Like, there is peril in this episode, and severe peril. And you see the Sycorax, and you see the frightening look of them, and you think you should fear them. And when you see that the power they have, it's almost impossible not to believe the peril that the human race is actually in. When we first see the Sycorax and they appear on our television screens, they look scary. They look like the characters that we meet on the spaceship when they abducted the TARDIS. Continues aesthetically. They never stop looking frightening. And that's brilliant. It's fantastic. The Doctor is returned to health when he's hit with caffeine. I feel this is an easier writing, trying to write out the whole. Now we've had the Doctor in his coma. How do we get him out of the coma? Caffeine. It feels cheap to me. It feels like the easy way to find out how you get your lead character back in to save the day. As soon as possible, you don't know how. It's lazy writing, in my opinion. We also have the Prime Minister, Harriet Jones. We have met in the previous series in the double episode with the Slovene in 10 Downing Street. This time she is the Prime Minister, and she's there trying to fight off the Sycorax. When the Doctor opens the doors to the TARDIS, and this is such a heroic move, the 2 doors open, and there he stands, the Doctor in all his glory. It's hard not to feel the excitement. See how this new Doctor's going to face the challenges of this new murderous, genocidal race. What's he going to do? Sadly, it's only too easy to beat this Sycorax. It's actually one big red button. And it's just because they have the ability to kill anyone with this ancient technology, and they don't. You find out it's all a facade, and it's all fake. And all the Doctor has to do is press this big red button, and nobody wants to kill themselves. Everyone just wakes up and they're fine. Don't like it. It seems easy. It, again, feels like lazy writing. But when the fight scene does happen between the Doctor and the leader of the Sycorax, with the sword fight, it felt unnecessary, but at the same time, it's really hard to deny that it is a fun scene. It's enjoyable to watch, it's exciting, it's entertaining. It may be unnecessary for the story, but you can't help but enjoy it. Which I guess is what they were going for. And then they hit the nail on the head. When the Doctor loses his hand and it regrows back, I don't feel this goes with the rhythm of the show, of the whole Doctor Who. It makes him feel almost magical. That during his regeneration, he can just regrow anything back, and he's almost invincible. It seems far-fetched to me. I am aware that him losing his hand plays a big part in later series, but I just don't believe it with the character. He seems out of touch. But the crowning glory of this episode is in the final parts. I say parts because there's 2 scenes that really shine in this episode. First, when the Sycorax leader attempted to do a sneak attack on the Doctor, and he presses the button, which does conveniently move the 1 foot by 1 foot piece of the thousands of foot spaceship that the leader just happened to be standing on. you show the doctor murder someone. And you kind of believe that the doctor would do that at this point, because his stern look to the camera, almost to the camera, and says, "No second chances. That's the kind of doctor I am." And again, it shows the acting abilities of David Tennant. It's fantastic. It's dark. And it shows that this doctor, he may be childish and a bit boyish and a bit cheeky, but he's not playing around. He's not here to have a laugh. You upset him, then watch your back. The second part, which really shines for me in this episode, is where Harriet Jones orders the murder of the Sycorax. Again, the genocide of the Sycorax, as they attempt to flee in fear, showing that she has become power mad since we last met her, and is willing to murder entire races in cold blood to show that she's on top and that she's great. But it's how easy the doctor topples her with simple words. Doesn't she look tired? I thought this was great. The series proper, the episode, official episode 1, starts with the episode New Earth. Rose and the Doctor travel to an entire new planet, which is always exciting, but it's a whole new colony of humans. They've taken over this planet and labelled it New York. As the Doctor receives a message from the hospital asking him to visit this patient who he doesn't know. And he's unsure why he's even there, but I feel the landscape that you see when Rose and the Doctor are sitting on the hill, it's great. It looks just like you want the future to look. Gives you the thrill of wanting to explore more of not just what you see, but of the world, what has become of not just the humans, but what we can create. We find out the hospital is curing incurable viruses and diseases with the help of these cat-like nurses who run the hospital. We also find out that Cassandra, the last living human from the first series, The End of the World, has been hiding out there, stealing medical supplies to survive with the help of her half-life chip. The Doctor and Rose are split up quite early on in the episode, giving you two distinct storylines. The Doctor finds out the message was sent by the face of Bo, who believes he is living in his final days and wants to pass on his final secret at the very end of his life. The face of Bo, who we're now meeting for the second time, again from the same episode as Cassandra, The End of the World, from this first series, has this aura of mystery that also makes you want to understand his character and what his life is about, but not knowing is so much more appealing because the mystery excites you. Rose is kidnapped by Cassandra and Chip, and Cassandra finds a way to transfer herself into Rose's body. This is not an original idea. It's been done throughout movies and television throughout history, hundreds or thousands of times. But it doesn't stop it being a fun aspect to the story. And it has its pluses and its minuses, which I'll talk through, but it creates something new and different because you get to explore the characters' different personalities, I guess. The real gripping aspect of of the story, though, is when the Doctor finds out the hospital is discovering these cures by breeding humans and infecting them with every disease known to man. This creates the moral dilemma of the story. These humans know nothing apart from this life, and they're curing millions of people. But don't they have the right to life as well? They're human, just like you and I. Do you save these people who are saving millions? Or do you allow nature to kill millions, but you save these thousands of lives? It's a dilemma the Doctor has to have, this internal struggle which he doesn't vocalise but shows and is evident in the story itself and the way it's scripted. It's very clever, very brilliant. There is a chase scene in this episode between the diseased humans when they escape, and the Doctor, Rose, and Cassandra, as she is within Rose and at points the Doctor. And it's great because that's where the real peril of the story is. You think it's going to be these Catwomen, but they're just trying to save lives. They're not doing what they're doing to these humans maliciously. They think they're saving people, and they are, millions. But the real peril is when, the evident peril, if you will, is when they're being chased, and it's the climbing up the elevator shaft, it's the heart racing, the adrenaline aspects of the story. And you have Cassandra jumping in between Rose and the Doctor, as neither of them want them in the other. And that creates the humour of the episode. But the way she does it doesn't really make much sense. When she goes into Rose, it's through machines and technology. Now she's just hopping at will. There's no logic behind it, and it's never really explained, and it's just brushed aside. And there's not really plot point that needs to be there. It's more just for the jokes. The great moment, though, in this scene is when Cassandra goes into the body of one of the diseased people, and she understands they have feelings and thoughts, and that is of loneliness and fear. And it's not, it's a revolutionary moment for the character and for the audience itself. We experience it through Cassandra, that the moral dilemma of, should these diseased people have the right to life, it disappears, because the answer is firm now. Yes, they do. Because they're just human beings, and they have emotions like us, and they're scared, and they're sad, and they're lonely, and they just want the human touch. So when at the end of the episode, when Cassandra is in the body of Chip, going back in time with the help of the Doctor to visit her former self and her true self in her beautiful form, before she had all the work done and became a trampoline, if you will, she has a chance to tell herself that it's not the surgery that makes her beautiful. It's a plea to her to say, you're beautiful as you are. Don't change yourself. Because living forever is a lonely life. She ended up living a life very much like the diseased people. scared of human touch, because she's scared of them understanding her and understanding her fears and her loneliness. And she has to explain that in the simple words of, I just wanted to tell you, you're beautiful. And she dies. It's the scene of the episode for me. It makes this episode a must watch, just for that one scene alone. It's beautiful. It's necessary. It's also a message to the audience to say, don't worry what people think about you. You're beautiful. Don't change yourself. You're beautiful. That's perfect. We then move on to the episode Tooth and Claw. This episode is set in the 19th century in Scotland, when the Doctor and Rose meets Queen Victoria in the moors of Scotland, and Rose is very underdressed, which creates very few amusing scenes. And of course the bet that the Rose and Doctor have of they can get Queen Victoria to say, I am not amused. It's humour that lands and works so well. Monks have taken over the Torchwood Manor in secret and hope to infect the Queen with an alien that works in the same way of a werewolf. Hence the name Tooth and Claw. A backstory line on one to be shot, a bit of a horror episode. In the last series we had that with The Empty Child and Dr. Dances. This time we have it with Tooth and Claw. It's drab setting and dark cinematography. The creepy monks that oversee all the proceedings. And the secret that they have. And it's come to light. It's done very well to create the atmosphere that they're trying to create. It's very scary event. The line of the man that becomes the werewolf when he's locked in the cage in front of the women to cause them fear and to keep them in line of, this is the empire of the wolf. This is the empire of the wolf. It's a fantastic line. It doesn't read deep into the episode or create emotions or anything like that. I just want to mention it because of the imagery behind it. And the way it's delivered really sets a spark in me. I thought it was a fantastically written line. I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. I love it. For no reason. And I just wanted to bring it up for no reason. It's a line every time I hear, I go, yes. I love it. My only upset is that they didn't name the episode Empire of the Wolf. As I think Tooth and Claw is a bit generic, a bit obvious. Imagine if the episode was called The Empire of the Wolf. That's an episode and title that would capture your attention. The acting by the supporting cast in this one is done brilliantly. The husband with his fear of what's going to happen to his queen and to his wife and his family at home and his legacy. It is brilliant. It's sad. It's realistic. And his wife's bravery. You believe it. You believe that she wants to save. She doesn't care about the queen. She'll save her husband. The man she loves. And you believe it so much. And she's willing to go to these extending lengths to achieve this. The point in time where we meet Queen Victoria is nearer the end of her life. She's lost her husband and survived multiple assassination attempts. And this is really portrayed so well in the episode. Her past, her history, shows on her in the face of her current position of her life. You can see the sadness behind her eyes and the mask she wears to show. And she puts on to hide the mask betrays strength, and she does this because she thinks that's what's expected of her as the head of state. So she hides the real emotion, and it's portrayed perfectly as you see it without that being told, which is what you need in this episode. You don't need to hear the emotions of the Queen. The acting alone shows everything you need to know. The use of mistletoe that can stop the werewolf is clever. Not to use the cliche of silver or garlic, which makes it more of an alien creature rather than a typical werewolf as we know it. And we find out the previous owner of the manor, the current owner's father, along with Prince Albert, the Queen's former husband, knew this. And they worked this out, and this had to stop the werewolf, so they encapsulized this room with this mistletoe. It's clever and brilliant, but using the diamond that you've known about this whole episode, that's the ultimate weapon, carved to perfection, with the use of the microscope to burn the alien from the man. It's very rare that I'm satisfied with how the monster ends up being defeated. I always think it's a bit of, you build everything up and it just ends. This time, I didn't just feel satisfied. I thought it was perfect for the character and the episode. It just worked so well. This is an episode that I'll always enjoy and always be slightly creeped out by. We then move on to School Reunion. This takes part in modern day London. Mickey's brought the TARDIS with Rose and the Doctor back to London as he's hear about odd things going on in the school. The Doctor is a teacher, Rose plays a dinner lady. And the whole spectacle of the episode, if you will, is the return of Sarah Jane Smith, played by Elizabeth Sladen, who was the assistant during John Pertwee and Tom Baker between 1960s and 1970s. In this episode, she is playing a reporter. Well, she's pretending to be a reporter, but she's also investigating the weird goings-on that obviously the Doctor is also reporting on. The villains of this episode is the Krillitines. I believe that's how they're pronounced. The leader of them is played by Anthony Head. This episode is a fun and entertaining episode that seems to be only written as an excuse to bring Sarah Jane back into the world of Doctor Who. And it succeeds. For this is the entertaining episode that you kind of want it to be. And it's one I'm never in a rush to skip. The Krillitines are a species that go to new worlds and take on their aspects, their best aspects. If a species has wings, they'll kill the species and take the wings, as they have done. Hence why they have wings in this episode. In this episode, they do look very bat-like, and in my opinion, don't look threatening at all. You hear about this story and the legend of them from when the Doctor talks about them, and you see them. It doesn't match up for me. It doesn't work. Anthony Head is a great actor. No denying. And the excitement to know that you're going to see them go head to head with David Tennant in a battle of wits and power is excitement you can't underestimate. As they're both such superior actors, and when you finally get to see that scene around the swimming pool when they're battling with wits and intelligence is great. The only problem is, the scene should be longer. It's built up to this moment, and that's all you get. And when you do see it, it's brilliant, but it also ends too soon, I think. If this episode was not so centered around the return of Sarah Jane, then the Battle of the Intellectuals would have been amazing. It's made such a great episode if that's what the centre was, but it wasn't, and therefore we missed out on a great highlight, I believe. Sarah Jane is great in this episode. I'm upset that they wasted the monsters on an episode that needed to be centred around Sarah Jane, because this episode did need to be centred around Sarah Jane, turning one of the great assistants in Doctor Who history. Don't waste her, but at the same time give her an enemy that is forgettable, not an episode and enemies that could be amazing, and then you make them forgettable. She's still in the same character as she was when you first meet Sarah Jane. 30 plus years ago, 40 years ago, however long it was. You instantly fall back in love with her, as you did. If you're an old fan or someone returning to the show, you understand that she's a character that you have to love. And when she returns, you fall instantly in love with her again. And for someone who went in this meeting Sarah Jane for the first time, you understood the weight of the history that she bore on her shoulders. And you instantly loved her as well. She was brilliant. And you understood why she got the spin-off show and everything, because she realised that she's not just a necessity in Doctor Who world. She carries it so easily. She carries the weight of over 50 years of television effortlessly. That it would be a crime not to carry the character on. And for someone who wasn't a fan of I wouldn't say I wasn't a fan, but hadn't yet watched the history of the Doctor Who, you felt the history, and for that reason it gave you the goosebumps, gave me the goosebumps that I think they were aiming for, and it worked so well. I think when you see Sarah Jane go into the cupboard where she first sees the TARDIS, is amazingly shot. As it made the TARDIS look this giant monument as Sarah Jane looks upon it. And I think this symbolises her life. She spent her whole life waiting for the Doctor, missing the greatest of times. And you hear of what she's missed on. You see it, and you hear that she has missed it. It could not be small to her seeing this TARDIS, and the way they've made it look massive in this scene. It's symbolic and perfect. And when then she walks out of the room and sees the Doctor standing there in his full Doctor outfit, it creates further goosebumps when you see Sarah Jane finally meet the Doctor, not John Smith, the Doctor. They just stare at each other and he just says, "Hello, Sarah Jane." It's beautiful. It creates goosebumps. It's so well shot. And it is the standout of this episode. I'll watch this whole episode for that one scene alone. It's perfect. It's brilliant. And when the episode ends, when the Doctor has to say goodbye to Sarah Jane, it's emotional, even if for someone who doesn't know the levity of the history between these characters. But you know she's going to leave, and at the time you think she's never coming back. You don't know about this spin-off series. You think this is her final goodbye. That doesn't bring a tear to your eye. You're stronger than I, because even now when I rewatch it, knowing what she goes on to do, it's hard to watch her say goodbye. Because to her, she's saying goodbye to everything. Everything she's waited for, everything she's lived through, everything she ever wanted. She's saying goodbye. It's heartbreaking, but beautiful. And at times hard to watch. But at the same time, you don't want to take your eyes away, because you want to say goodbye properly this time. The rest of the episode is quite cheesy and fun, but quite forgettable. The three actors, David Tennant, Elizabeth Sladen and Anthony Head, make this episode amazing. But the rest of it is meh. I don't care. Now for me, we're going to move on to the standout episode of the series. The Girl in the Fireplace, written by Stephen Moffat. An episode based on a spaceship with no crew, and also through the life of Madame de Pompadour. This is very much an episode of two halves. Mickey Rose and a doctor on the spaceship trying to discover where the missing crew have gone. And then also the doctor and Madame de Pompadour, or Renette, I believe, in 18th century France. The story in the spaceship is very much a standard Doctor Who story. There is a mystery of the ship and the twist that they've been using the crew as parts of the ship to help it go again. And that's the peril of the story, and the Clockwork Men wanting to turn Rose and Mickey as parts of the ship as well. There's not much to talk about in either aspect. It's very standard, very generic, something we've seen before, and we'll probably see over and over again. I'm not going to delve too much into that bit. But the real magic of this story is in France. It starts when the Doctor finds himself going through a fireplace into the room of a young girl, and discovers there's a clockwork man under her bed. And this is where the intrigue begins. Because when you hear Doctor say, the clock is broken, so where's the ticking come from? Fear. Instant fear. Who is it? What is it? What do they want? It's incredible. And why does the ship lead into her bedroom is more intrigue and interest. And what is the Clockwork Man scanning this girl's brain for? You need to know more. You're invested in this episode instantly. We also expose the beautiful sets of the episode. The way we've done the room for 18th century France is incredible. From the bedrooms to the dance hall, you're instantly transformed in this period drama that makes you believe that you're exactly where they tell you should be. The costumes in the mirror scene, where the setting were in the dance hall, just float effortlessly from the actors to the scene. And for a science fiction show, it's rare to see. And it's so beautiful the way it's all done. I won't change a thing about any of this. But then we move a few years later, we meet Renette, an adult now, played perfectly by Sophia Myles. And we see the real dynamic between her and the Doctor. The flirtatious, the intrigue, and with eyes full of wonder and of this mysterious man who keeps appearing, looking the same but so many years later, when Renette goes into the spaceship through the tapestry, it's a very well-written scene that shows this woman who can still understand the stars in the sky. She finds herself standing upon them, a million miles away. And the fear of this metallic world that is her future and will soon become the norm of the human race. A fear of the unknown and what is yet to become takes hold of her. It's so well expressed in this scene. Another amazing scene in this Doctor is when the Doctor goes into through Renette's mind to understand why the Clockwork Men are looking into her. And she passes into his mind with the wonderful line, "A door once opened can be entered both ways." I believe that's a line. I'm paraphrasing if I've butchered it. But she works through into the memories and she recounts the Doctor's early life and the feelings he lives every day is outstandingly written by Stephen Moffat. Higher praise couldn't be given. The Doctor smashing through the big mirror on a horse is fantastic and a big hero moment that isn't lost on him as he can't get the smile of his face as he catches Renette's eyes. The true beauty and heartbreak of this episode, though, comes at the very end. The first is when the Doctor realises that he's stuck in France because he's broken the mirror and the only way through into the spaceship again. He's scared that everything is lost to him and that his next few hundred years will be spent on Earth living like a normal person. But it's also excitement for him as well. It's a new adventure. But the anticipation of spending that time with Renette also excites him. And that's what he tries to grab hold of, and you see the emotions running through his eyes and the face. The acting is perfect, and you see the fear and the excitement and the understanding of everything. But there's also worry for the Doctor by Renette. Or Renette. I'll get that right one day. But as she's buried down by the excitement, she buries it because she knows she gets to spend the rest of her life with this man she's grew to love and respect and wonder about. She's fallen for him, and now she gets to experience his life with him. But when the Doctor says he'll take her with her, when he finally finds there the fireplace is still one final portal to get her through to the spaceship, he says, "I'll get the TARDIS and we'll take you anywhere. Just pick a star and we'll head there." By the time he gets to the TARDIS and back, many years have passed. And you find out that Renette has died. It's beyond heartbreaking. You feel for the Doctor, but forget about the Doctor. It hurts for you. Because the way Sophia Myles has played the character and the way Stephen Moffat has written it, you want to watch her more. You want to understand. You want to watch her go beyond the stars with the Doctor. You want to see where this adventure will take us, but it's ripped apart from us. And even to this day, I watch this episode so many times, this series over and over again, it always brings a tear to my eye. A genuine tear. It's hard to watch, but it's so hard not to watch. For me, this episode is the closest you can get to perfection of Doctor Who. It's one of my favourite ever episodes, Doctor Who, and if I don't call it my favourite episode of all time, it's always in my top 5. Sometimes I can't deny it is one of my favourite ever episodes. We're then going to move on to the double episode, The Royal Cybermen and the Age of Steel. This is when we see the TARDIS team, who now incorporates Mickey, who's joined for the ride a few episodes previous. They go through to a parallel world where we meet Rosie's dad, who's now a millionaire or a billionaire, we doesn't really explain it. And there's a company called Cybus Industries who've created the Cybermen. They're finally back, and it's a fun episode, but without much substance for me. I feel that following from the previous episode, which was such an emotional gut punch, I guess it was needed. I think the Cybermen in this episode are not as scary as they previously were in classic Doctor Who episodes. And I think they've lost the fear factor due to the writing of Tom McRae. And I think he believes he's written his fearful enemy, but he hasn't. They march forward and shoot people, but they've lost the aura of invincibility. The fear that you've come to have for these monsters, it's gone. For me personally, I didn't care about them. I didn't fear them. I didn't believe that they would take over the world. I didn't believe they would defeat the Doctor. I didn't feel for them. These episodes give the chance for Mickey to grow. As you understand his character more, his history that's not really been tapped into too much as a busted away side character. But you understand that his gran had died and from tripping over a loose carpet and fell down the stairs. And this is something that defined him as a man and as a person. And now in this alternative universe, his gran's alive. I feel this episode is not on the level that they can achieve for the main continuous cast and the supporting cast, to the point where it's distracting and it takes away from the episode. I feel this one was supposed to be the return of the famous monsters. The first time we've seen them since we were teased of them in the episode Dalek in the first series, when we see the helmet in the museum. And it made you want to see them badly, understand them, but now you've got them, you regret being in a rush to see them. The main villain of this episode isn't the Cybermen. It's John Lumick. He's played by Roger Lloyd Pack. But he plays the character as more of a mustache twirling villain. Oh, Death Chew. She isn't great. Not for me, but not for the episode. All these characters you're trying to bring back, it doesn't work. We're going to talk into what does work in the episode. When Mrs. Moore and the Doctor are going through the tunnels trying to sneak into Cybus Industries, into the headquarters, is a standout moment. We see the lifeless Cybermen come to life. And for me, for the first time in the whole double episode, this is near the end of the second episode, you feel a ting of fear for them. But is that more of a fear for the characters more than fear of the enemy? Fear of what may become of the characters, and fear of what the enemies can do. We're going to take down one of the Cybermen and remove their inhibitor, and find out it's a woman who's waiting for her wedding day the next day, but doesn't realise what's happened to her. This is great. It's heartbreaking. It's brilliant. But maybe this is the direction they should have gone for the whole double episode. Not this shooty metal man who cares, but telling the stories of the Cybermen and the people that were before. Understand their lives and what's been ripped away from them, what's been stolen from them. And then see what they've become, what's been taken away from them, and see the pain in them. And that would be a dark episode. I imagine how much you'd be scared of the Cybermen. They're not ordinary people all over the world. People like you and me. And stolen. And their lives stolen and forgotten about. No one cares what they used to be. You're a metal man now, you do what I say. That's fear. That's emotion. Imagine that as a double episode. But rather than that, it's a 5-minute scene. Just thrown away. But a great scene nonetheless. And this episode, as I said, I know it's supposed to be the entertaining episode after the heavier episode beforehand, but It seems that it's trying to be the heavy episode. It's trying to create fear and suspense and emotion. Like when they killed Jackie off and turned Cyberman, you're supposed to care and feel for that. But you don't. You don't care Jackie just died. You know that isn't your Jackie. Your Jackie's fine on the other parallel world. And you know which they're going to get back to. Doctor Who. The good guys always win. But so when Jackie dies, you don't care. They're trying to create the emotion and the fear, but it doesn't land. What I just said would be a good episode, but maybe it was too much of a gut punch after the gut punch episode and a heavy episode and after a heavy episode. They're trying to create that, but they don't. So why not go all out and do it? It's a missed opportunity and a missed episode and a waste for me. In the tunnel scene, we see more about the character, Mrs. Moore. We find out more about her life and her history and the motivations for joining this revolution to stop Cyber's Industries. That she gives up her family for the cause that she believes in. It creates such a strong character of her that you don't care about before, but now you do. So when she dies, it hurts. Imagine if they kept on that powerful story that they obviously can do but don't care about. This episode really ends with Mickey taking over the role of Ricky, who died in this episode, his parallel counterpart. I like this. I'm sad to see Mickey go because he's a good light-hearted character I do enjoy watching and very well acted by Noel Clarke, but it works with the character so much. He's lost everything. His grand's died, but in this universe, his grand's alive. He has no real friends in his old universe. This time he does. He has a cause to fight for, to bring down Cybermen internationally. And the main thing he lives for is his girlfriend, Rose, who he loves dearly, but lost to the Doctor. She can see what's growing between them. So he's happy to say goodbye to her for something meaningful, for love and family and hope and everything. Works with the character so well that I like it. I'm happy to see him go in a sad sort of way. We then move on to The Idiot's Lantern. This episode takes place in London, 1953, during the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. And everyone's getting TVs from Magpie Industries or electronics. It's a little bit too cheap because the owner is Mr. Magpie, serving an alien being in television, hoping to feed on people who are watching and take their souls through their face. We also follow the family dynamic of this young boy and a scared mother. They're scared of the father, who is this fearful man, fearsome. He's angry. He's living through the post-depression of the Second World War. He fought in that war and he's a man's man. He never got love from his father when he was younger, and therefore why should his son get love from him? He works hard for his money and he feeds his family. He goes to the pub with his mates and he's strong. And therefore why should he show emotion? And therefore causes fear for his son, so his son respects him. He doesn't want love from his son, he wants respect. And he would demand respect. And from his wife. He's the man of the house. He's the strong one. He's the one who feeds her. He's the one who brings in the bills. He's the one who pays her. What is she? Wow. That's a dynamic they create with his family. Forget about the Idiot's Lantern. Forget about the storyline. That's the story. That engages me. I want to know about this. And you see everything. You see the power and the strength between not just the dad who thinks he's strong, but he's the weak one. But the strength in the mother, who at one point boots him out. The strength it takes to kick out the man that you loved, and probably still do love, but have become scared of. Strong. And the boy who doesn't respect his dad. Even to stand up to him. Showing his dad, he's not the man of the house, I am. And if you treat my mother like that, I'll treat you like dirt as well. Wow. It's powerful. And when the mum leaves the husband on the day of the coronation, you see her physically become stronger. First you're weak and caring, now she's bright, she's smiling, she's making jokes, she's a strong person finally. She's become who she really is. It's powerful. It's brilliant. It shows it that nobody's better than you. Be equal to me or be out of my life. That's your two options. Wow. I mean, the Doctor and Rose finally confront the man before he's been kicked out of the house, and he's still this all-powerful man, and the Doctor stares him down. And when the dad says, "You will listen to me. I am talking," the Doctor shouts back, "Well, I'm not listening." The man's never been confronted like this before by a strange man. Wow. I can't say it enough, but what a dynamic for this episode. When the son at the final of the episode has good riddance that the father's been kicked out of the house, and Rose, who has to live her life without her father, without choice, he's been taken from her, tells him, don't lose your dad, don't cut ties with him, because he's still your dad. He may not say it, but he loves you, cares about you, he respects you. It's the development of the characters that works, and that's what makes this episode, is that family dynamic and the story of that. But the villain of the episode is known as The Wire. She sucks the souls for removing the face. This is the weakest part of the whole episode. The Wire is incredibly annoying, and she keeps saying, "Feed me," every time she feasts, over and over again. When she first says it, you think it's a bit creepy, but then she repeats it over and over and over and over and over again. You just think, shut up, I don't care. It's annoying. Stop it. You just want this villain killed, not for the gratification of the villain being stopped and the world being saved, but for your own sanity. I don't want to watch that villain go again. The removing of the faces seems incredibly unnecessary. And the story just makes you feel that this is a bit far-fetched. And what's the point? Why? And the fact that the Doctor happens to invent the portable television and the VCR just makes it silly for the sake of being silly. But it also feels like the writer, Mark Gatiss, didn't know how to end the episode, so he just found the easy way out, and the Doctor can invent stuff that makes getting from A to B easy. He's taken the easy way out. And the fact, I thought this episode isn't a bad episode, but that's mainly due to the character rights and the family dynamic and that story. It makes the episode not a bad episode, but an interesting episode. Take away the Magpie storyline and The Wire, then you have an episode. But sadly, you have to get through that to get to the good bit. We then move into another double episode, The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. This is an episode where the Doctor and Rose arrive on another spaceship. We get a fair few of them. A standard Doctor Who episode. This one's bounced on the edge of a black hole on a planet. We meet the alien species, the Ood, which are a bit of a servant race and don't play much part in this episode. That much, but they're a character that do come into their own in future series and episodes. We meet the team who are on the spaceship, and they obviously can't understand how the Doctor's arrived, or like the Doctor, how they're bouncing on the edge of a black hole and not falling in and dying. The characters are done well. They're well written in this episode. You care about them and feel for them, and when one dies, you care, which at times in this series is rare. The story doesn't really touch on the possibility that Ood are more than just a servant race, but more of a slave race. But I'm glad about that. This is 2 episodes, but quite action-packed. A lot happens in this episode. And maybe that would be too much. But it doesn't let you not think that either. It doesn't make you go, no, these are a servant race, they're not slaves. It makes you, leaves it open for you to think that Maybe they are. And I know that is explored further in later series. So well. Brilliant. Obviously, we'll get to that when we move on to season 4, when we get the Planet Lude. It's brilliant, but understated, which is fine for this episode. If we went down that route, it would have been too busy this episode, and maybe not as good as it was. The villain of this piece, throughout these 2 episodes, is the Beast, I think we're going to call him. Because he goes under many names and many guises, and nothing's really truly found out, and he claims to be the Satan. But the Doctor says, prove it. How can you prove it? He said, I've known many devils and Satans across history. Everyone worships different Satan and a different devil and a different down below and hell. What makes you the one? So we're going to call him the Beast. And it's that villain that makes these episodes so rewatchable. So exciting. So when you actually meet the characters down the pit, and he looks exactly as you would expect it to be, a big red beast with horns, but also has the intelligence that really excites me. Because that's what interests me about the villain. It's the fearsome looks, the intelligence, and the motive. And the Beast has all 3. Then part of the villain I wish we could have seen is the mind within the Beast. The mind at this point is moved on to Toby, an archaeologist, because the Beast knows that the planet is getting sucked into a black hole, which means the Beast's demise, so it needs to get off this. He knows his body can't, so he let his mind go instead. I know it won't make sense for the storyline, but I'd have loved to have seen a Doctor face off with the Beast with the mind inside. We've seen face of the Beast with no mind, he's just an angry, growly beast. But we never see the Doctor face off with the mind. And I love, because the Doctor's the most intelligent person we've met in Doctor Who. Imagine we met something that is eventually Satan himself. So smart, so conniving, so evil. But we see that with Rose, and obviously Rose doesn't have to comprehend that. She's just a mortal. But imagine if we got to see the mind within the Beast, the big 1,100 whatever foot tall beast with red horns, growling at the Doctor with smart stories and comebacks and motive. It would have been interesting. It would have been brilliant. As I said, I know it doesn't make sense to the storyline, it wouldn't have worked, but out of vanity, I'd have loved to have seen that. A personal gripe is with Toby, the archaeologist. When the mind of the Beast is in with him, when he's escaping in the shuttle, and for some reason Toby breathes fire, it makes no sense to the character. Like, it's human. Humans can't breathe fire, and he's in the body of a human. How can the mind change the anatomy of a human? It makes no sense to me. And it doesn't even enhance the story or anything. It doesn't work for the storyline. It doesn't add to the storyline. It's never mentioned. It's never talked about. If they cut it out, the story would have been exactly the same. So why do it? It's stupid. It looks silly. It looks and feels fake. As I said, these episodes are something I look forward to getting to in the series on rewatches. But that's mainly because the villain alone doesn't distract from the other aspects of the story. When the Doctor and Ida Scott are in the cave, the top of the door which leads to the Beast is beautiful. The shots, the way it's shot, and the dialogue is something of the best of the whole series. They're talking about mortality and the possibility of devils and gods. It's so fantastic. It draws me in every time, and I want to catch every word from the Doctor and Ida. The peril is not just from the Beast, but also from the Ood, who, because of the Beast, have become frantic and evil, and they're chasing Rose and the other members of the crew, trying to kill them so that the Beast's mind can escape freely. I like how the Beast is defeated and how the episode ends. I feel this is a great double episode for the series. And as I said, one I do enjoy, and I think one of the best villains of the series. So well written, so perfectly done, and looks frightening. So it was all three things I look for in a villain. But then we move on to Love and Monsters. This is the episode, the first time we get one that barely features Rose or the Doctor, but follows a man called Alton Flatley, played by Mark Warren, an absolutely fantastic actor. He joins a group of like-minded people who have also been in contact with the Doctor once time in their life, and they want to find him again. Nothing malicious. They just want to understand the Doctor more and say thank you. And the first time I watched the episode, I absolutely loved it. And the first few times I watched it, it was one episode I actually looked forward to watching. But now I've rewatched it a few times and I've grown up a bit. It's an episode that I'm willing to skip pretty much every single time I watch the series now. It's the weakest episode of Doctor Who up to this point of bringing back the show. Not just of the series, but of both series so far. And for me, a bit of a spoiler quick from the episode, one of the weakest for a while afterwards. I struggle to see why I enjoyed this episode so much. I think the Absorbaloff is stupid and pathetic. I know it is a character designed by a child for the channel of the TV show Blue Peter, and it looks that way and acts that way, and acted by Peter Kay, the comedian. It's done poorly and cheap laughs, and it's one I can't engage with. I don't like it. I don't care. It's a comedy act. The jokes are just juvenile. The story's incredibly basic. You feel this is the episode written for kids. I know some people might say it's a kids show, but it's not. It's a family show. I believe it should have that aspect of it's not a kids show. It's written for anyone to enjoy, and this episode didn't feel like it was made for anyone above the age of 12, in my opinion. But then again, they have poor jokes which are very adult. Probably the most adult jokes of the whole show in this episode, which is very much a child's episode, where Alton and his girlfriend has now been turned into a paving slab. So about their sex life, make sex jokes. It doesn't work for the aesthetic of the episode. Is it a kids episode or is it something for the adults? It doesn't work for me. It's vulgar, and it lands flat this whole episode. I don't have much praise for this episode, and I said it's one I am quick to skip on rewatches, which is a shame because the lead actor Mark Warren is an actor I respect and enjoy watching quite a lot. But he can only work with the words he's been given, and sadly the words are poor. I don't want to delve too much in this episode because I don't have much good to say about it. Not much to say about it at all. There's no scenes that really stand out for me. There's no moments or speeches that wow me. I don't care about this episode, and I very rarely watch this episode. So let's move quickly on to the next episode, Fear Her. This episode is set in the future of 2012. A decision I've never really understood because Doctor Who's very rarely travel into the near future. Something that we know is coming again, an event not so, what we know is going to be so strong. When this was filmed, it was before 2012. So, why do it? We know what's going to happen. They should know people are going to rewatch this series, understand that the events in this episode didn't really happen. 2012 was obviously when the London Olympics was held, and that's what this episode is set around, because not long after this episode came out or was written, it was announced that London would be hosting the 2012 Olympics. Obviously, they wanted to jump on the back of that and jump on that big old fad. But did they need to? This episode didn't need that. It made no sense. The storyline held up on its own without the setting of the year or the events. Because, let's say, the point of when the run of the Olympic torch falls over, So the Doctor jumps out from the viewing to grab the torch and runs it through the Olympic Stadium. We knew that didn't happen. We knew at that time that was never going to happen. Security wouldn't let that happen. I know it's just a trivial thing to say, but it takes you away. It takes you out of the episode for me. What a good episode it is, but it's poor. A poor decision. Not needed. It doesn't help the episode, in my opinion. They could have got around the idea of the spaceship flying through the fire easily. They were just jumping on a hype train, trying to grab on our excitement of the games. The acting from Chloe, the main girl in the episode, who's been possessed by this alien being called the Isolus, making people disappear by drawing them and trapping them in the pages of the pictures. The acting is not great, but it's passable. But the idea of the Isolus is great. They say there are species who travel through the universe with their families of billions. So therefore, when this one Isolus gets lost, it's missing the billions of families, knowing it's lonely. So with the help of Chloe, it draws its new family, friends, someone to play with, the children. It's a children race. And that's the peril of the episode. It's imaginative, it's creative, and it's a good idea. I'm not going to say it's brilliant, but it's a good, interesting idea. I thought the real peril of the episode is that the children have been abducted from plain sight by a creature or a thing or a person, and they don't understand or know right before their eyes. That's good peril. It's scary. It works well. And we have the peril for Chloe, which is the drawing of the abusive father that lives in the cupboard, which is a stand-up moment for the episode, the stand-up moment for the episode, in my opinion. Because we see the glimpse of the father, but when Chloe and her mother are cowering by the front door, the sounds of the father, the fact that we never see the father move through the house, it's just the sounds, the growls, the screams of this thing, this monster moving towards them. It's so scary. Even for us, we fear for them. Don't care how they're going to escape, but what's going on? It's painfully scary. It's brilliant. The way it's shot, it's fantastic. And even the way the villain's defeated, the singing of the song and the fear going away and then being transported away from the thing that they fear most, it's well done. Again, it's one of those times where I'm happy that way that the villain is defeated. Because the Isolus isn't the villain in this piece. They're just trying to get home. I like it a lot. I just didn't like the Doctor and the Olympic torch. It just felt forced and weak. Take that away and you have a fantastic episode, in my opinion. There's not much development in the episode, in the way the overarching story, but it's a good episode that leads you before the final double episode of the series. These episodes are the Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. The Doctor and Rose go back home to London so Rose can visit her mother, where we find out that ghosts now appear randomly. Not randomly, but actually to a schedule, which the Doctor tracks down to be on the cause of Torchwood headquarters. This time, the overarching breadcrumbs of Torchwood. Last series we had Bad Wolf, where it works really well. This time, because of that, we're looking out for the overarch, and because of that, it doesn't land. It's obvious and a bit of a letdown. We do have some look back moments in the style of the parallel world and universe, as we get Cybermen come through from that universe, Mickey comes through from the universe, and Pete Tyler, Rose's dad, comes from that universe. Which, it's fine. We also meet Yvonne Hartman, played by Tracy Ann Oberman, who runs Torchwood. Her as a character is a bit 50-50 for me. Sometimes she plays a role fantastically, while others it's over the top and a bit annoying in some scenes. We also have the Daleks in this episode, which when you find out they're going to be the Daleks versus Cybermen, it was excitement. It's going to be the struggle that you want to see. You need to see what's going to happen when these two meet. Then the disappointment when they actually do meet. It's hard to contain your disappointment. They make jokes, such as the Dalek saying to Cybermen, you know what you're only thing you're good for? Dying. You die better than us. These are the two scariest villains in the universe, and this is the dialogue they get. Pathetic, and it takes you out of the show. It makes me not care what the villains, it makes me want to brush them aside and get off this episode. I don't care at this point. I didn't laugh, I didn't chuckle, I just thought it was pathetic. Even as a teenager watching it, no. The scenes with the Void Ship, they're great and really engaging, as you're not aware of what it's supposed to be. It's this huge, big metal structure with absolutely no mass. It makes you want to know what it is, why it's there, what's inside. When you do finally find out what's inside, you find out it's the cult of Skaru and millions of Daleks. Hidden inside, this is a Gallifreyan Time Lord prison ship. It's bigger on the inside. But through the build of the whole episode, you don't find it's a Daleks till the end of the first episode, so you're kind of a bit disappointed that it's a Daleks. Because you've seen the Daleks, you've had Dalek stories. You've had 2 Dalek stories by this point, in last series alone. And it's your second Cyberman story of this series alone. And so you're hoping the big build it brings in a new villainous character, an old villain you've not seen before, a new villain that's really scary. But when you see the Daleks, you've already got Cybermen. The excitement of the face-off then begins. But the disappointment of what the face-off is going to be lets you down. The ghosts before they're revealed as Cybermen have the same effect as the Void Ship. The mysterious, what are they? Why are they here? Why do they turn up scheduled? What is going to become of these characters? Is this what the Earth becomes now? Where have they been? What are they doing? Who are they? But the creepy aura is disappeared quickly and you see it's Cybermen. And as I said before, they get their cringy lines and sayings and jokes, if you will. A standout of this episode, though, is when Jackie and Pete Tyler meet in the hallway. They have that interaction that is brilliantly done and very well acted. They both lost their husband and wife, who is them from a different parallel universe. And it's emotional when they meet each other, and it's keeping true to the characters and true to the series, and an emotional moment for you, the viewer, as well as the characters themselves. It's, as I said, a standout moment for the episode. But the final scene where the Doctor loses Rose in the parallel universe is so well done that you don't even believe it. How are they going to kill Rose off and take her away like this? Like you understand that she's going to have to go, because obviously that's being revealed early on. Rose is leaving this series. But if you didn't, then even bigger shock than that. But you didn't think it'd be so final that you'll never see Rose again. She's gone forever. Is this really the end of Rose? And it is. And when the Doctor and Rose press themselves against the wall, the same wall in the same position, but on the other side of the parallel universe, it really shows the levity of the situation and the emotion. It's beautifully shot and very clever and very well done. But the scene on Bad Wolf Bay, which is a fantastic name for the beach, as it brings the full circle of the character round. It's a beautiful scene. It's very clever. But I was not a fan of the growing relationship between the Doctor and Rose in the romantic setting, mainly because this Rose came from the series beforehand, where her and the Ninth Doctor was very much in my opinion, a father-daughter relationship. And suddenly there's a new face on the man, but so suddenly they fall in love. It feels a bit creepy to me, a bit off-putting. But that aside, the moment they're saying their final goodbyes, And Rose tells the Doctor that she loves him. And the Doctor begins to say the same thing to her, but the connection cuts out. It's heartbreaking. You do feel for the characters so much, and you feel your heart rip slightly. It's emotional scene that does live with you when you've grown so fond of Rose for the last 2 years. And that's how she has to go. Overall, this is a great series that has highs for me, such as The Girl in the Fireplace, as I say, is one of my favourite episodes of all time of Doctor Who. And it has its lows, which is Love and Monsters, which is one of my least favourite episodes of Doctor Who of all time. This is a series that I have fond memories for, and one I'm always going to enjoy returning to. It's one, as I said, I'm passionate about. It's got some favourite episodes and some amazing moments. Thank you very much for listening to me talk about this. It's been brilliant to talk to you about it, and I'd love to hear your comments. Maybe you loved Love and Monsters. Maybe you hated Girl in the Fireplace. Tell me about it. Let's start a conversation. Let's keep it civil, but let's start this conversation. Let's talk about this. I'm Mr. Scotty Pie. If you enjoyed this video, think about dropping a subscribe, dropping a like, and let's see each other again next week, hopefully. Thank you very much.